Hey guys, so I'm going to be telling you about the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera. Now this bad boy can shoot 12-bit raw recording DCI 4K at 60 frames a second internally to a CFast card. You don't need an external recorder. This is a powerhouse. Now they also have 120 frames a second. It crops in on the sensor a little bit, and that's at HD. It's not at 4K. Don't get too excited. Now what Blackmagic is doing here is they're kind of learning from other companies' mistakes, which I love. They have bigger batteries now, so they're not going to have their old problem and Sony's old problem of the little tiny batteries that would last you like 20 minutes. So now you got a big beefy battery. You got the LP6 battery by Canon. It'll give you about 60 minutes of runtime, which is a pretty substantial amount. They also redesigned the cooling system so it's not going to overheat like the Sony cameras. Now the only thing that worries me about the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera is the vents in the bottom. Now in theory they're great because it allows for a lot of air to go through the camera. But the only problem with that is a lot of fans tend to make a lot of noise. If there's a fan down there blowing stuff up and you're caught in a sandstorm, you're caught in Moab where it's all dusty, you don't want that stuff getting in your camera. It's disgusting. And it gets everywhere. And you can't get in there to clean it. So I'm not entirely sure how that's going to work. It might just be not the option for that kind of a shoot. And that's perfectly okay too, but it's just something to consider. Now the other thing to consider is to help reduce overheating issues like the Sony's had. It's going to be made out of a polycarbonate material, so it's not going to be metal. And in theory, that's great because it's going to be lighter and it's going to dissipate heat, diffuse heat a lot more efficiently. Now, my problem with that is I know with a lot of bicycles, the carbon fiber ones are not as durable, not even close. And I know if you go down on a carbon fiber bike, you're semi-prone to break it. They're light as can be, but they're very delicate, and that worries me because I'm not very delicate with my gear, you know what I mean? Like I use my equipment, and it scares me to death to think that it's not going to be made out of metal, which is either going to be a really, really good thing and it's going to be the future of cameras, or it's not going to be as durable. It's just something to consider. Now this sensor is a little bit bigger than the previous generation of the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera. It's a true 4/3 sensor now, so it's bigger. It's going to capture more light, more data. Alright, now the cool thing that the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera can do is you can use anything like this, like a little power brick for your phone, and you plug in a USB-C into the USB, and you can power your camera with that. So if you run out of batteries and you're in a tight spot, let's say you're out on a remote location or anything like that, and all your batteries are gone, you can use this bad boy. And you can use any of them. You can even use the USB-C port to record externally too, which is going to create some very interesting workflows. Now, it's not weather sealed, or at least not advertised. To my knowledge, it's not weather sealed. So the GH5S still is probably going to hold a place in my bag. However, at the price point, it's crazy because nothing compares to it at the price point. Okay, the GH5S doesn't come close to it in terms of codecs and in terms of RAW. Put this in perspective. Now, I can use my GH5S to shoot DCI 4K at 60 frames a second with an external recorder. So now I need to spend about $700 for an external recorder / monitor. Then I need $100 for a cage. And then if I want to use XLR ports with my GH5, it doesn't have a mini XLR cable input like the new Blackmagic does. So then I need to spend $400 for that, for the official XLR cable attachment. So now that's about $700 plus, so that's $1,100. And then with the cage, if you kind of need a cage. So with a cage, that would be about the same cost as a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera. So that's on top of the $2,500 that you need just to get the camera. So for the cost of all the accessories to get my current camera up to the specs, well, just below that because my camera doesn't shoot RAW, but to get around that realm, I have to spend basically as much as that camera, which is baffling to me. Now it also has a 5-inch touchscreen, and it's a big screen. It's very bright. The user interface is phenomenal. Their menu systems are always top notch. I can't get over that enough. Now it also has a dual ISO. Blackmagic is doing is they're basically taking everything without the autofocus part. They do have autofocus on this one, so the body does communicate with the lens. It's usable, it's enough, it's all you really need. And if you're shooting serious video, you're not going to be using autofocus anyway. If you're doing documentary work, I get it, whatever. But I mean, realistically, you're not going to be using it. And the other thing to consider at this price point is you're getting DaVinci Resolve, like the studio version, like the full version, which is a $300. So really, the camera's about $1,000. They say don't poke a bear, but Blackmagic is poking Panasonic, they're poking Sony, and they're poking Nikon, and they can't touch them because the only, like, if we look at the C200, yeah, it's 14-bit RAW. But that's the only thing that has RAW remotely comparable, and it's $6,000 for the base version. Okay, now you could say, oh well, that has like a few more features, but realistically, they're not all that different. And for $6,000, it's not comparable. It doesn't even shoot 10-bit. The C200 doesn't even shoot 10-bit. This shoots 10-bit. Like, it's not comparable. I don't know. It's literally shaking the industry by the neck, and it's like, wake up. Like, all these companies that we know and love, they can do this. They just won't. And for the first time, Blackmagic is literally just taking charge, and they're taking names. And I hope to God it's successful, because this is going to be huge. This is going to mean that film students in high school and college are going to be able to make cinema films and documentaries, and the amount of content is just, it's such an opportunity for anyone looking to take that next step into film and get like a true cinema camera. And I just bought my GH5S like a week ago, and I couldn't be happier. Even though I might not buy it, I still might buy it just for the RAW, depending on where my path goes. But the fact that they're giving people an option to just jump in, and it makes me so happy. The amount of just creative opportunity that is in this moment right now, and with the amount of avenues, whether it's YouTube, Vimeo, they're really just, it's such a great time to be involved with film, and I couldn't be happier for those getting into it and those currently into it. Guys, thank you so much for checking out my video. Feel free to subscribe. Tell me in the comments, are you going to get this camera? Are you having buyer's remorse for another camera that you just purchased? Like me, a little bit, not too much, because my GH5S is weather sealed, and for the type of filmmaking that I do, I think it's just the right fit. But let me know what's going on. For everyone wondering what's up with my nose, 2 days ago was International Pillow Fight Day in New York City. Basically what happened was I was wearing my GoPro on my head, and somebody hit it, it flew right off. So I'm like, all right, well, I know what I do. I'll put it under my ears, that way it'll get stuck there. And it did get stuck there, but someone came over and cracked down, and then it was like this on the bridge of my nose, and then a horde of people just started pummeling me. Because I was wearing a GoPro, and the kid literally shouts, "Give that kid footage!" Which is sick, because I got awesome footage, but it just kept slamming up and down onto the bridge of my nose. And on the plus side, nobody sat next to me on the train ride home. So, silver lining, I'd like to think so. And by all means, guys, have a good day.